How's your stomachs?
Stand full. Frozen.
Frozen?
Full.
When I first learned that Jacob Kremm, one of our AV wizards, not only holds Geneva's soundscape in the palms of his able hands, but also writes poetry, I said, "Shut up!" "You shut up," Jake said. "No, Jake, listen, shut up's a malleable phrase. I didn't mean your face is a malleable phrase." He said, "Please," I said. "In this context, shut up just means I can't believe it. This is awesome. You're a Renaissance man." "Your mom's a Renaissance man." "I'm complimenting you." Then I heard a sound over my shoulder, the sound of children laughing. I looked, nothing. I looked back, Jake was gone. He'd crafted the sound out of thin air and thrown it behind my head. I should have known. He is of the people of sound. Their strange powers. I thought I'd insulted him somehow, and now I'm going to pay for it. What happens when you get on the hate list of one of Geneva's technological terrors? I'll tell you what happens. I was in class trying to get students to download something on their laptops. Some of them could, others could not. For reasons unknown, the computers would not comply. Then I tried to turn on the projector. It wouldn't go. I pressed the button and waited, nothing. When I gave up and went on with the class, the projector turned on by itself. And I heard laughter, the same as before, the sound of children. But now they were giggling inside the walls. No one seemed to hear it but me. When I tried to pull down the projector screen, it wouldn't take, but kept sliding back up, making a horrible synthetic swallowing noise, until finally, for no reason, it held, though I had changed my technique not at all. I tried to plug in my computer next. The cord didn't fit the port, so I used a student's computer. The cord fit, but the sound cable didn't reach. Eventually, we spliced the electrical cables together with my laptop's power cord, ruining it. And we were on the verge of success when the internet crashed, the projector overheated and turned off, and the screen slid up by itself, swallowing its own wide tongue with a horrible noise like someone unzipping the skin off a manatee's corpse. Then the power went out in the room. All the lights on cameras all over campus flickered and died. Bulbs burst. Only a few systems remained. It was no accident. It was a vengeance-fueled selective electromagnetic pulse from none other than our very own Jacob Kremm, the Kremlin. For the rest of the day, our faculty and administration powers that be were forced, ironically, to send all communications over Yik Yak. To everyone's surprise, they loved it. Now there's a Yik Yak app specifically designed for the use of Geneva faculty and administration. "We get a lot more done this way," said one senior person anonymously. "Cyber meetings are much shorter. Imagine how much time you save when you can just say, 'I wish so-and-so would implode.' It used to take me 3 hours FaceTime to deliver that kind of a message. Now it's easy. Thanks, Yik Yak admin face app." And so, it is with great earnestness that I warn you not to get on the bad side of the Kremlin. "Jake," I said, "have mercy. No more EMPs. Please. Don't they affect you too? We're all marionettes on technological strings. If you cut them, you fall too, don't you?" That's when he sent me this poem. "I've got no strings to hold me down, to make me fret, to make me frown. I had strings, but now I'm free. There are no strings on me." Ladies and gentlemen, I give you a special treat, a poem by our master of sound, Jacob Kremm.
Wow. Thank you for that. I want to say special thanks to all you who come out to these GRS events. It really encourages us to see that we're making an impact and that the gentlemen that read tonight are being heard, are being listened to. So please continue coming to these events because we can change things through these sorts of events. I entitled this piece, Till Morning Do Us Part. I wrote this a couple weeks ago. It's still relatively fresh, and I hope you enjoy it. I don't dream much. The dreams I do have are usually very unrealistic, but incredibly visceral. I'll wake up unable to shake the feelings and emotions of the previous night. It's for this reason that I qualify many of my dreams rather as nightmares. Last night, I dreamt of my soulmate. We were young scientists, inventors, and entrepreneurs. We'd come from all over the country, maybe the globe, in order to present our innovations to the academic community. Clean, modern furniture, with 2 walls, almost entirely of windows. But for the life of me, I can remember none of the presentations. I get only bits and pieces of what she looked like. She was petite and slight in proportions, but she carried herself like she knew that she was most beautiful when she was comfortable in her own skin. She seemed to change slightly each time that I saw her face. She had long, dark hair and bangs swept from her forehead that would bounce when she laughed. I saw dark brown eyes and one of those mischievous smiles that perked up the corners of her mouth. Her face had subtle little dimples that peeked out when she would turn to smile at me. She had this way of looking over her shoulder at me that made me melt. The little tilt of her head, the angle of her chin, made me stop and grin. She'd set her brow and give me that look, like we shared a joke that no one in the room but us knew. Then, she would hold out her hand or pat the seat next to her without breaking her gaze. I did not know how to respond that first time. She lifted her eyebrows ever so slightly and gestured with her eyes to the empty chair. I nodded and smiled as I sat down. She found my hand on the side of my seat, and she pressed her palm to the back of mine. Moments later, I had my arm lounging across the back of her chair. It felt perfectly natural for her to pick me out of that crowd of talent. I was confident that I was the only other one there who could impress the audience just as she had. She wanted to get to know me long before she knew what else I had to offer. She was so captivating, even at a glance, that I can remember almost nothing else. All I remember was the way she smiled and stole the air from the room when she explained her breakthrough. When we'd all presented, we packed up and headed to a bus. She fell asleep on my shoulder, talking with me as if she'd known I would be there that day and we'd be inseparable ever after. It wasn't like we'd always known each other. The way she made me feel was too novel and fresh to be anything but spontaneous. Together we would change the world. We would make love and have children that would grow up to be those kids with that magnetic personality and those cool parents. We would always come back to these moments though, laughing, relaxing, reclined, her under my arm. We would be close, but never be tangled up. We would relive the past, enjoy today, while hoping for tomorrow. We would grow wise, but never old. Our bodies would fail us, but never our kindred spirits. We would fight and argue, but we'd always be right. We would cry and fear, but we would never despair. We would be loved, but more importantly, we would have someone else to love. The only vow we would struggle to keep is till death do us part. Death would not sever our bond, just as the morning did not erase my yearning. With new bodies, we'd enter the glory of the next, with only forever on the horizon. But it was only a short dream. I woke up feeling this, not in such wordy detail, but rather in gut-wrenching longing to fall back asleep and live life on the other side of the mirror. I tried to dream again, and I had 2 more dreams to follow, but they served only to cloud the details of the first and further remove me from my beloved. To call this imagined individual my beloved feels strange, but only to say it aloud does it feel strange. For when on the page, when I say it in my heart, it seems only redundant, a foregone conclusion. Rather than any of her specific traits, it was like I was predisposed to love her. It seemed a natural and perfectly common reflex, like a contented sigh after a Thanksgiving dinner, or like a refreshing yawn during a morning stretch. Her casual beauty was simply icing on the cake for me. Perhaps this is the way my life will go. Every once in a while, my idealist heart will conjure up some fantastic vision to sap my passions dry for only a few hours of a glorious night. Now I realize how crazy my dream, and especially my response, must sound. Perhaps I'll go insane in the world of the awake, but find harmony and consistency in the world of the alive. If only there was a way to know what lies on the other side of sleep. Perhaps then the hopeless would find refuge in the welcoming arms of the soul's imagination, rather than the biting sting of fate's gruesome end. But I know this was only a dream. I know this by the pinch on my skin and the vice on my heart. Thank you.
David Kremm.